All right, it's been a while, but let's do another Hall of Fame induction for my own Hall of Fame. And this one's weird because honestly, he should be in the Hockey Hall of Fame, but I can kind of understand why he isn't, and I'm going to get into that. Curtis Joseph was undrafted and would play for all of these teams. That's in order, and of course, he played for Toronto twice. Undrafted, unheralded when he came into the league. His first year, 9-5-1, 3.38 goals against, 890 save percentage. Not anything special, but playoffs, this guy was just amazing. 90-91, 16 wins, 10 losses, 2 ties, 3.12 goals against, 898 save percentage. And he started to become a little more known about. See, Vince Riondo was the starter in St. Louis. And while he was doing his best to be Vince Riondo, I wasn't a fantastic goaltender. And Cujo would eventually pass him, and that happened in year 3. 27-20-10 record, 3.01 goals against, 910 save percentage. And we started to see in the playoffs, this guy was special. And St. Louis fans are going to agree with me on that one, as are fans of a couple other organizations, but we'll get into some others that may disagree. And that happens. 92-93, 29-28-9, 3.02 goals against, 911 save percentage. Keep in mind this is before the dead puck era when save percentages went up. Goaltenders' save percentages just went through the roof. 911 was pretty darn good. 93-94 for the Blues. 36-23-11, 3.10 goals against, 911 save percentage again. So very, very, very consistent and star. And in the playoffs, he basically had like cult status in St. Louis at this point. The guy was amazing. He could do no wrong. Uh-oh, Mike Keenan. First day on the job, Keenan sits down with Curtis Joseph, sits him down in the office and says, I don't give a who you think you are. I'm in charge of this team. Lays down the law, and Keenan had this nickname, Captain Hook, and it had nothing to do with a hook hand. It had to do with the fact that goalies, he'd just pull them out and switch them back and pull them out again. And it didn't make any sense. You're watching a game and you'd be like, okay, it's a good game. Your team would be down 1-0. You'd be like, wait, why is he pulling the goalie now? You're up 2-1. He pulls the goalie. You're like, wait, why is he pulling the goalie? We're ahead. 94-95 with Cujo and Keenan, it was a disaster from the start. Cujo puts up 20 wins, 10 losses, and a tie. 2.71 goals against, 902 save percentage. But it was never meant to work. Keenan would bring in Grant Fuhr, and ironically, Cujo ends up going to Edmonton. Along with the rights to Mike Greer, St. Louis got back 2 first-round picks in 96 and 97. They drafted Marty Reisner and Matt Zaltek. So Reisner went on to a half-decent career, but I don't think they got what they should have for Cujo. Yes, me doing videos about players that are traded for not enough seems to be happening a lot over the last couple of days. In his first year with the Oilers, he puts up 15 wins, 16 losses, and 2 ties, 3.44 goals against, and an 886 save percentage. Not great. But he makes up for it in 96-97. 32-29-9 record, 2.93 goals against, and 907 save percentage. And he gets cult-like status with the Oilers, too, because this is an Oilers team that really has fallen far from that last team in 1990 that won a Stanley Cup. They have fallen pretty darn far. Those memories are long gone. 97-98 with the Oilers, 29-31-9 record, 2.63 goals against, 905 save percentage. And he's a solid goaltender, but he wants to win. He decides to move on. He moves on to Toronto. The other thing was, of course, the Oilers didn't exactly open up their pocketbooks in 97-98. This is at the height of the Canadian dollar being pretty darn bad, and Canadian teams really struggling to hold on to players unless they're Toronto or Montreal or to some extent Vancouver. Toronto, his first year, 35-24-7 record, 2.56 goals against, and a 910 save percentage. Upon his return to Edmonton after signing as a free agent in Toronto, he's booed resoundingly. He gets a shutout. He's booed the whole game, but when they announce him as the first star of the game, the crowd cheers him. So there's that dividing line between we really hate you, but we respect what you did in this game. You beat us fine. Second year in Toronto, 36-20-7 record, 2.49 goals against, and a 915 save percentage. And Toronto was getting into conference final territory. We were starting to talk about maybe the Maple Leafs are going to win a Stanley Cup. This is why when people say, oh, the Leafs have been crap since 67, They're not paying attention. The Leafs actually had a couple of good runs in here. 2000, 2001, 33, 27, and 8 record, 2.39 goals against, and a 915 save percentage. Really solid numbers for Curtis Joseph. Even though the defense in Toronto was never fantastic, he puts up solid numbers. 2001, 2002, a 29, 17, and 5 record, 2.23 goals against. Save percentage dips to 906, and he decides, I want to win a Stanley Cup. And he wants to go to Detroit to do it. It made him a villain. It made him a villain for a lot of people. He goes to Detroit. He puts up 34 wins, 19 losses, and 6 ties / overtime losses. 2.49 goals against, 912 save percentage, and they get swept in the first round by the Anaheim Ducks. So what happens here is simple. You can divide his career before 02-03 and after, and you've got a pretty solid line here. This gets you in the Hall of Fame. This doesn't. He went to Detroit and was supposed to be the savior in net, and Detroit had no faith in him after that collapse in round 1 against the Ducks. 03-04, kind of uncomfortable. Detroit brings in Dominic Hasek, and they have Manny Legacy for a backup. They don't want Curtis Joseph. But at an $8 million price tag, nobody wanted Curtis Joseph. He gets buried in the minors. Ends up coming back up when Hasek gets hurt, and Hasek says, I'm done for the year. So he gets 16 wins, 10 losses, 3 overtime losses, 2.39 goals against, and a 909 save percentage. And in the playoffs, they get out of the first round, and they lose in the second round. So Curtis Joseph still with egg on his face. So you've got the lockout. Coming out of the lockout, he signs as a free agent with the Phoenix Coyotes. 32-21 and 3 record with them, 2.91 goals against, 902 save percentage. He was excellent that first year with Phoenix because he wanted to prove to everybody that the guy you saw here wasn't the real Curtis Joseph. This was the real Curtis Joseph. This and this was the real. Whatever happened here was just a disaster. It didn't work. 06-07, however, the whole Coyotes team doesn't work. 18 wins, 31 losses, 2 overtime losses, 3.19 goals against, average 893 save percentage, and the uncomfortable conversation is had at that point that Curtis Joseph's probably done as a starter in the NHL. It kind of gets hidden a little bit in Arizona, but once that contract's expired and he's looking for work, not a lot of teams calling. In the end, the Flames call, and of course the Flames in 07-08, their starter's Mika Kiprasov. They don't need a solid backup. They just need a guy to sit on the bench and every now and then step in during one of those 10 games that Curtis Joseph might be needed for because Kiprasov might want the night off. He ends up putting up a 3-2 record. He has 5 starts out of the 9 games he plays for Calgary. 2.55 goals against, a 906 save percentage, and as I said, very limited appearances. He won a game in postseason, which may seem like it's not a big deal. However, that means he posted playoff wins for 5 teams, which is rare. Very, very rare. In 08-09, he goes back to the Maple Leafs as a free agent for chump change, like $700,000. I think he got $700,000 or $800,000. Posts a 5-9-1 record, 3.57 goals against, and an 869 save percentage. And again, we were still having that uncomfortable conversation about Cujo's basically done. Did the Leafs cut him? What happens here? What's going to happen? At any rate, he finished his career with 943 games played, 454 wins, 352 losses, 96 ties or overtime losses, 2.79 goals against, and a 906 save percentage. He has 7 seasons of 30 wins, 12 seasons of 20 wins. He has 63 wins and 66 losses in the playoffs, a 2.42 goals against, and 917 save percentage in the playoffs. His save percentage in the playoffs is 11 points higher than during the regular season. He was a playoff goaltender. Most career wins without a Stanley Cup when he retired. That is no longer the case. There are goaltenders that have passed him, but when he retired, he was the number 1 goaltender for wins by a non-Stanley Cup winning goaltender. So it's a record, and it's not one that goalies necessarily want. He had 30-plus wins for 5 different teams. Extremely rare. Not something you're going to see. I'm pretty sure he's still the only guy who's done it. Free agent by the Leafs, Red Wings, Coyotes. He was only traded the once. And then he had the playoff wins for 5 different teams, which again is, I think, a record. He was an all-star in 1994, 1999, and 2000. He won the King Clancy Trophy for leadership, community kind of leadership in 2000. He was 3rd in Vezina voting in 93, 4th in Vezina voting in 94, 5th in Vezina voting in 97, 2nd in Vezina voting in 99, and he had the Hart Trophy voting to finish 4th in that. So he wasn't officially nominated, but he was 4th in Hart Trophy voting. And in 2000, he was 3rd in voting for the Vezina. I'm not arguing that when you look at this body of work, you say, wow, he obviously was hosed to this point and he doesn't belong. But I do think there are players that are in the Hall of Fame whose careers may have been less impressive, less extensive, and in general, this is a goaltender who played for a lot of years, put up a lot of wins, and he never played with a real contender until he got to Detroit, and then it just fell apart for him. The one thing with Cujo that I thought hurt him in Detroit was, whether it's St. Louis, Edmonton, or Toronto, he faced a lot of shots. And in Detroit, he really didn't. And I always thought that threw off his game. That he liked to face 10-plus shots per period. And when he gets to Detroit and he's not facing that amount of shots anymore, I thought it hurt his game. I really did. But again, it's one of those things that you can't control that kind of thing. And goaltenders, some of them adjust well to facing less shots. Some adjust well to facing more shots. And it seemed to help his game when he went to Arizona/Phoenix and faced more shots. But there you go. The career of the newest THG Hall of Famer, Curtis Joseph. I don't know if he ever makes it to the actual NHL Hall of Fame. I think he belongs there. I think eventually he'll get in. I think just based on where he played, how well he played, and for the teams he played. And really, you look back in time and you think, wow, if Keenan doesn't come into St. Louis, how long does he play in St. Louis? How much more success does he have? How many more wins does he have? And we'll never know. But let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.